Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be building this pink gaming PC. All the parts are in the description below, as well as timestamps. I'll be going over why I picked the parts so it can help you make purchasing decisions if it's your first time building a PC or you haven't built one in a while. And there will be Time Spy and Fire Strike scores at the end as well. Starting off with that static electricity warning as usual. Just make sure you're working on a non-conductive surface, preferably something that has some give to it, like cardboard or foam or something like that. If you're working just on wood, you could damage your motherboard, like when you're pressing the RAM or something in. Also, you're going to want to be grounded yourself if possible. If not, just periodically touch a ground. That way you don't zap anything. We're going to install this PSU first into the case, and you could plug that in and turn on the PSU, and you could have a leg or your foot resting on that. That way you'll be grounded throughout the process, or you could just touch it periodically. Starting out, we're going to disassemble the case, and the reason we're going to do that first is so once the motherboard's done, it can go right into the case. And like I said earlier, you can also use the case as a ground if you need to. But the reason we want the motherboard to go right into the case is because you never know what's going to happen. Phone call or whatever, and you got to leave. You don't want to leave that motherboard in a vulnerable position. So it's best to be ready to go right into the case. And with everything out of there, removing the fans and everything, it'll just make putting the motherboard in easier. I just rerouted the bottom front fan wires just so they all go in one spot and it's easier to manage and looks better. When you're putting your power supply in, just make sure that it's drawing air from the outside of the case, and the big fan is what draws the air in. And so in this particular case, it'll be going down and it will blow the fan out of the back of the power supply. Next, you're going to want to get your motherboard out onto that non-conductive surface, and we're going to start off by installing the CPU. Once you got your CPU out and ready, you can open up the ILM by pressing down on the bracket arm and push and moving it over and releasing it up. It's spring loaded, so don't just let it fly up, and then pull the cover back and you can place your CPU right in there. You're just going to want to line up the notches, or you can line up the arrow on the cover of the CPU to the arrow on the CPU itself. And then once you're down in there, you're just going to put the black cover back down, swing your arm down, and when you bring your arm down, you're going to just make sure that latch catches. When you're pressing that arm down, it will pop that black cover off, and you just put that arm back underneath the holder just like you released it. Right now I'm preparing the backplate for the LGA 1700 socket. Just make sure you move both the front and the back of that backplate into the 1700 position. When applying thermal paste, personally I like to spread it. As you can see, it's not necessary. You could just put a dot in the center. This particular CPU cooler isn't the easiest to install because it's spring loaded, and that makes it really easy to cross thread. And also you have to have the screws lined up exactly just like you do with the back plate. Everything needs to be lined up perfectly, and you gotta kind of eye it yourself on the cooler itself. You gotta eye it up. It doesn't really show you where they're supposed to go. I like to get all the screws started, and then I like to tighten them down in a cross pattern fashion. That way it goes down evenly as possible and you get good contact surface. And by the way, this CPU cooler is way overkill for the CPU we're using. I picked this cooler because it got positive reviews. It's pink and it's the same company as the case, so I figured the pink would match with the case. At first I put it in a push-pull configuration. The 12400 definitely does not need a push-pull configuration with this cooler. When installing RAM, just make sure that you're installing it in the correct slots and the correct direction. It is directional, so don't just jam it down. 16 gigabytes of RAM is more than enough for gaming. If you do other tasks, then you might need more. 3200 megahertz is plenty of speed too. Actually, it's a perfect sweet spot for gaming. As you can see, I'm installing the SSD now. I should have installed it before I did the cooler for obvious reasons. It would just be easier. You're not going to damage anything. It's just easier to do before you install the cooler. When installing that SSD, it goes in on a 30-degree angle. Make sure you remove the film off of the thermal pad and just get both screws started and then just walk them down evenly. Again, you just want to get even contact so that you get good heat dissipation. Putting the fans on the cooler is real easy. Once you got the clips on the fans, I just hold pressure on the clips, that way they don't pop off, and then once you got it lined up with the radiator, you just push them on. It's real easy. Just make sure the fans are pointed in the right direction. Going with a push-pull configuration not only reduces temperatures, but it reduces noise, but it's completely unnecessary for the 12400F. So I didn't leave it in this configuration. Make sure before you put your motherboard in the case that you have your backplate installed and your standoffs in the correct location. Also, make sure nothing's interfering with your backplate after you put the motherboard down. Make sure that you can plug everything into all your USB ports and whatnot. When the backplate's separate from the motherboard, clips and stuff can get in the way. Just be aware of that, and just look before you tighten it down. And again, I like to start all the screws on the motherboard and then tighten them all down. That just makes it easier to start them all, and it doesn't, if you tighten one screw down, it's gonna be hard to line up a screw way across the board, that's all. The holes at the top of the case are convenient for the motherboard wiring, but they're not really convenient for the radiator or the fan wiring. I wish they would have put another hole or another 2 holes up higher so that you could run fan or radiator wiring easier. The top of this case does have more room than the top of a typical case. It should hold a variety of radiators in there. When removing the slots from the back of the case, I like to walk down one side and then wiggle it until it comes free so I don't bend the pillar in between. As you can see on screen, I'm installing the GPU right now. Again, doing the wrong procedure here. Instead of installing the GPU right now, we should be plugging in those wires on the motherboard. It would just be easier to do it. It's not impossible or anything. It's just a lot easier. When screwing down the GPU, I like to push it towards the top of the case as much as possible to eliminate as much sag as I can. And now that we got the GPU in, we're gonna plug those wires in. As you can see, I'm pulling them apart, and that just makes they're flat cable and they're all attached together. By pulling them apart like that, it just makes it easier to plug them in and work with them. When you're plugging in cables, if you're not sure how to plug them in, you just look at the pins and look at the cable and you just line up the blank spot on the cable with the blank spot on the pins. It's a good idea to make sure that your battery is seated all the way too on the motherboard right now, while not everything's in the way. On the back of the power button and front panel wires, you'll see a little arrow that indicates the positive side of the wire. I personally really like the side intake. That's going to get you air directly to your GPU. And if you had 280 millimeter GPU, you could even put a 240 millimeter radiator there. I think you possibly could get away with a 290 millimeter GPU, but the GPU I'm using is 301 millimeters, and that's definitely too long. Here I hid the fan wires below the heatsink and ran all the wires up through one slot. That way I could hide them behind the braided wires that are going to go through that slot. When I tried to use the included fan hub, it didn't work out for me. I couldn't control the fan speed, and also once I turned the fans pink, I could never get them to turn back, the fans that were plugged into that hub. Thankfully, I bought a 3-pack of these same Vetroo fans, and it came with a fan hub. The fans in the case are 3-pin ARGB and 3-pin power connector wires, but when you buy the 3-pack of the exact same fans, they're 4-pin PWM fans, and these are 3-pin PWM fans. I like to give my fans a spin before I put everything together, just to make sure no wires or nothing are rubbing against them, nothing's hitting them. You could electric tape wires down too, or together if you didn't have twist ties or zip ties. Try not to run your wires where they're going to be visible from the front of the case, so not over any openings. Just so you're aware, when you see this 6+2 PCIe and 4+4 CPU, it means you can use it for either or. And the same is true for the peripheral and SATA. Also, I should have plugged these wires in before I installed the PSU in the case. That would have been a lot easier. Always make sure you use the original PSU cables. The connector that goes to the motherboard is standard, but the connection that goes to the PSU system is not. Cable extensions are okay because that's side standard. If those 3-pin ARGB wires are not visible, I like to electric tape them because they pull apart real easy. When you're doing wiring, I like to start off with twist ties so that I can get an idea of where everything's going, and then once I'm for sure where everything's going, then I'll go with zip ties. But you can always undo zip or twist ties and then redo them again. Try and follow the natural layout of the case as much as possible. You can always tuck along the edge of the case. In this particular case, they have these plastic cable holders. I really prefer straps instead. They're just more flexible. On this case's website, it did not show that there was a cutout for the PSU, so just be aware that there is. I used this Streetfighter LED display to hide it. As you can see, I tucked the little wire in between the, there's just a little gap there between the case and the PSU shroud. And I just tuck it in there and run it flat alongside the LED screen, and you really can't see it. And be aware if you're using zip ties or whatever, or twist ties through those little holes you see on the back, just make sure if they're visible from the front, if it's the right color zip tie you're using. I used all white ones where you could see it from the front, and where you couldn't see it, I used black ones. I put that big flat cable up front just so it could hide all the other wires behind it, and then I'm gonna put the braided cables last. That way you can hide everything behind those, and so it somewhat looks good from the back. You know, it doesn't look great, but it looks as good as it can. The airflow in this case is really good. Even if I wouldn't have put the 2 side fans on the intake, the 3 front fans really blow, and they just draw the air in right from the outside of the case. I think it's because the side is open too, but they really do blow in there. It gets really good airflow. It comes with 3 black fans as well. They are not PWM. I used 2 of them as exhaust up in the top because you can't even see it. Okay, real quick, reasons why I picked the components I picked. I start off with the GPU, and from there, I know what level of CPU I'm gonna need. I was looking at a 3070. I was able to get a 6800 XT that I really like, that matched the look I was going for. For the same price, I was gonna get a 3070, so that was a no-brainer. Double the VRAM, better rasterization, just a better graphics card overall. And I wouldn't pair that with a 12100, so I stepped up to the 12400. Since it's a 6800 XT, I really wanted a case with really high airflow, so I picked this case, and it does have great airflow. The motherboard can handle a 12700 so this person will be able to upgrade in the future. And also, it's PCI 5.0, so it'll be relevant for a long time. Alright, time for the benchmarks. First up, we got Time Spy with the stock settings, and that got us a 16458. And the CPU was at 75 degrees Celsius. The room temperature was 21 degrees Celsius throughout. Next up, we have Time Spy with the fan profile. I set up a fan profile and an overclock profile. And with the fan profile, we got a 16654, and that was at 72 degrees. And next up, we have the overclock, which got us a 17,065, which is great. The temperature on that one is 74 degrees. And that got us 53rd spot on the Time Spy leaderboard. Next up, we got Firestrike, and we got 33,274. And with the fan profile, we were able to pull it up a little bit to 34,235. And finally, with the overclock profile, we were able to pull it up to 34,506 for a legendary score and first place on the Firestrike board. And I put the CPU temperatures up there as well. It pretty much stayed between 49 and 51 degrees throughout all the testing. So like I said, this CPU cooler is way overkill, even just in the single fan configuration for this particular CPU. Alright, that's it for the video, everyone. If you guys have any questions, leave them in the comments below. Thanks for watching the video, and as always, take care.